Thank you so much. I am truly overwhelmed and humbled to be addressing you today as your new ACPA president. Lori and Mark, thank you for the kind introduction. It is not often that we have the opportunity to reflectively hear about our journeys and impacts in settings like this, and your sincerity, your mentorship, and your friendship mean the world to me. Thank you. To all of you in attendance today, too, thank you for being here at the start of a new beginning. In moments of transition, I can't help but think about beginnings. The beginning of my presidential term, yes, but also the beginning of our next 100 years as an association. In my address today, I want to talk about beginnings. Over the next 15 minutes or so, I want to tell you about some of my key beginnings as a way of introducing or reintroducing myself to you and our association. I also hope to inspire you to reflect upon your own beginnings and your milestone moments. Taking stock of our milestone moments and giving thanks to those who helped us along the way is especially powerful in moments of transition. And I hope you'll indulge me as I give thanks to those who helped me during my key beginnings throughout this speech. As we approach our next 100 years in ACPA, I will also talk about our association's key beginnings and my hopes for what is yet to come. I want to highlight some of the great work already underway and invite you to take part in what I know will be a monumental start to our next century of work. Let's begin, shall we? As I begin my term as ACPA president, I think it's important for you to know a little bit about who I am and what I bring to this role in our association. And the best way I can think to introduce myself is to share with you some of my milestone moments, my beginnings. As some of you know, I started my journey in higher education at Concordia College in Moorhead, Minnesota. It's great to see some folks from Concordia here. While I originally attended college to become a college choral conductor, I shifted my focus to student affairs after getting involved in residence life and student government my sophomore year. It was here that I discovered my vocation. As a mission-driven institution, Concordia teaches its students to brew or become responsibly engaged in the world. It's a great acronym, especially for a coffee lover like me. At Concordia, they teach students to brew by talking about vocation or purpose. And as I reflected on my purpose in college, I encountered Frederick Bruckner's quote, which states, "Vocation is the place where our deep gladness meets the world's deep need." As I thought about what made me deeply glad and what the world needed most and where I could contribute, I knew the answer was higher education. My purpose became clear when I took an inventory of how I spent my time. While I loved choral rehearsals, I found myself spending far more time making bulletin boards and planning floor programs and checking in with my residents. I also relished the opportunity to be a part of conversations with our department's residence directors as they planned training sessions and RA interviews. I was allowed to be a part of this work in ways that changed my future. My supervisors saw my interests and made an effort to make me a part of the team. If it wasn't for the attention and trust given to me by Kristen Edwards, Maria Steinhauer, Michael Kenfield, and J.C. O'Connor, among others, I'm not sure I would have discovered or pursued a career in student affairs. With their support, I affirmed this was my vocation. Now, as any enthusiastic type A person does, once I dedicated myself to student affairs, I went all in. I researched as much as I could about our field. I sought out internships, read articles, created independent study courses, and looked for others who also did this work. And what I found very early on was ACPA, the beginning of my community. I found ACPA During my time at Concordia, when I attended ACPA's Next Gen conference, it was here that I learned about the community present within ACPA, and once again, I jumped in. For the past 17 years, ACPA has been my professional home. Whether it was through my involvement in commissions, the assembly, our governing board, ACPA has always been the place where I can show up as myself, see myself reflected across all aspects of our association, and pursue my passions unabashedly. It is the place where I can learn, grow, and do so alongside some of the most brilliant minds in higher education. It is the place where I'm challenged to think and enact commitments to racial justice, decolonization, and social justice. And it is the place where I engage with others as we boldly transform higher education, not just at our institutions, but across all of higher education. It is my community. I hope you have also found, or will soon find, your community in ACPA as well. Now, my community, rightly so, spurred my curiosity. As a scholar practitioner, I wanted to learn as much as I could about student affairs in higher education, and I wanted to contribute to this learning for others as well. I was able to immerse myself in this type of learning and curiosity at Western Illinois University, my graduate institution. At WIU, I had the luxury of learning and practicing the work of student affairs. I received a graduate assistantship in housing, which made pursuing graduate school a reality for me. Thank you to those of you who still champion and provide assistantships for such learning. This makes an incredible difference to our field and to our future. As a graduate student, I worked as an assistant complex director and was once again trusted and mentored in ways that helped me to live into my potential. In my role, I supervised RAs, created a living learning community, served on the NACUR Conference Host Committee, which gives me a lot of respect for our international office and conference team here, and I responded to significant student crises. In the classroom, I was able to learn from Dr. Dee Forney and Dr. Tracy Davis as I was challenged to make meaning of my assistantship, connect theory to practice, and contribute toward emerging research. My time in Macomb, Illinois was one of my most formative professional experiences. Tara Monroe, A.J. Lutz, Lauren Tesso, Roxy Tucker, and Mark Carbonara, among others, helped to co-create one of the most immersive learning experiences of my career. Because of their support, I was able to luxuriate in learning, engage in rigorous debate, and build a network that would last a lifetime. I hope you see ACPA as a space that can allow each of you these type of luxuries as well as you learn, connect, and lead. After I graduated from WIU, I made my way to Chicago, where I began my full-time career in student affairs at DePaul University. I find it fortuitous that as I'm beginning my journey as ACPA president, we are back in the city that gave me my start, my now second city, and another place that feels like home. The beginning of my career at DePaul was nothing less than magical. At DePaul, I joined a team of professionals who cared deeply about our students and each other, challenged each other without malice, and pushed each other to be better, not just in our careers, but in our lives as well. It was a dream team. Thank you to Deb Schmidt-Rogers, Edwin Darrell, Anne-Marie Klotz, and Nikisa Straker for building a team that would set the bar. I hope you all have a chance to work on such a team at some point in your career, and if you haven't yet, I hope you work to build a dream team, because such teams lay possibility for career-long impact and the resiliency to withstand whatever comes our way, something we all need in higher education right now. Thank you to my entire dream team at DePaul. You know who you are. Thank you for the impact you made on my career. You are family. And while I'm giving thanks, I also want to say thank you to my current work team at the University of Utah for the support you've given me and the grace I know you'll provide during my term as president. To Vice President Dr. Lori McDonald, and my supervisor, Sean Grube, and my HRE colleagues, I couldn't lead fully and work to make an impact without this support. Thank you. My current work as the Director of Housing at the University of Utah has taught me about the power of imagining, dreaming, and doing. While at the U, my department has doubled in size with plans to serve up to 10,000 residential students in the next 5 years. Within our facilities, our students explore their identities, connect with campus resources, and find their people, passion, and purpose. Our students who live on campus for at least 1 year are also 20% more likely to graduate. That is an impact I can get behind. It is these type of outcomes that inspire my work in student affairs and inspire me to lead in ACPA, where holistic student learning and efficacious outcomes are valued. In ACPA, we want to find out what works, and perhaps just as importantly, what doesn't. Perhaps the only thing more inspiring to me than my work in student affairs and the impact we make is my family. The beginning of my family is the last and most impactful milestone I want to share with you today. In particular, I want to introduce you to August, my daughter. 4.5 months ago, I gave birth to my daughter, August. She's an IVF baby, something I don't take for granted in today's political climate. Without access to IVF, August wouldn't be here. Speaking of being here, August is actually here at convention with my wife, Ella, to see this beginning. August is sick right now, and so she's on FaceTime with my wife. And those of you who are parents know how tough that is to have a sick kid. So thank you for your grace. August, I'm so incredibly proud to have you here to see this moment, even if you'll only remember it because of pictures and stories. I'm also grateful to you, Ella, for the time you'll allow me to spend on ACPA over this coming year. During August time at convention, one of the most common questions I've been asked is, how did we come up with her name? And in truth, we named her August because of this very idea of beginnings. Both my wife and I work in higher education, and for us, August means many things. For many of us in student affairs, August means many things as well. In higher education, we measure our careers in August. We measure our tenacity and resilience in the passing of another August. And we measure our beginnings in the start of a new academic year. Yes, August can be a tough month, but it is also a joyous month. It marks the start of something new, and it marks the hope for another chance at making a difference. As you begin to think about your own milestones and beginnings, I want to ask you, what is your August? What are your key beginnings? What moments do you measure your career by? What moments do you find joyful, difficult, inspiring, or challenging? What beginnings do you still hope for? And what do you hope for within ACPA? ACPA's beginnings are especially notable this year as we celebrate our 100th anniversary. Reaching 100 years takes tenacity, resilience, innovation, and a resolute understanding of our purpose. These attributes have been threaded throughout ACPA's history since our inception in 1924. In 1924, our association was started by 9 courageous, determined women, a notable beginning. It is not lost on me that this past year, ACPA has been led by 3 women, Dr. Dre Domain, Dr. Heather Shea, and myself. I want to thank Dre and Heather for their partnership, their courage, and their leadership. They have done so much for ACPA and helped to bring us to this momentous celebration. As I reflect on ACPA's 100 years, I am struck by how often our association has been at the forefront of shaping the field of student affairs and higher education. For example, in 1937, ACPA helped to develop and publish the Student Personnel Point of View. In 1959, ACPA leaders established the first comprehensive journal for the field of student affairs, now known as the Journal of College Student Development. In 1968, ACPA launched the Task Force on Race and the Task Force on Women, the start of what ACPA now refers to as coalitions. In 1978, ACPA participated in establishing the Council for the Advancement of Standards in Higher Education, otherwise known as the CAS standards. In 1984, ACPA formed the Task Force on LGB Awareness, known today as the Coalition on Sexuality and Gender Identities. In 1994, the ACPA Foundation was formed. In 1998, the NextGen Institute was formed. In 2007, ACPA launched what is now known as the Institute on the Curricular Approach. And in 2016, ACPA leaders established and adopted the Strategic Imperative for Racial Justice and Decolonization. These are but a few of our historic milestones. They reflect ACPA's leadership across scholarship, practice, and presence in higher education. These moments are our beginnings. Over the past 5 years, ACPA leaders have worked diligently to advance ACPA's mission, vision, and values by way of our strategic plan. As we close out this current plan over the coming year, I would be remiss not to mention the important work accomplished during this time, as it once again demonstrates ACPA's dedication to advancing and shaping the field of student affairs and higher education. Over the past 5 years, ACPA has launched initiatives such as HBCU membership incentives, our first Faculty Racial Justice and Decolonization Institute, a new governance structure for ACPA leaders, a keystone publication about 21st century employment in higher education, and the launch of a committee to revise the ACPA and NASPA competencies. Thank you to all the ACPA leaders who have contributed to this work. You continue to demonstrate the power of our purpose as we seek to boldly transform higher education. As we embark on our next 100 years, ACPA's mission, vision, and values will continue to guide our work. And the work is plentiful. It's challenging. It's exciting. It's daunting. And it's meant for us to do. While it is impossible for me to predict all of the issues and challenges that will face ACPA in the next 100 years, I know that our association stands ready for whatever comes our way. At present, student affairs and higher education is faced with a barrage of challenges, including issues such as staff attrition and burnout, enrollment instability, modernizing technology, free speech and advocacy tensions, and an increasingly hostile political landscape resulting in attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion professionals, offices, and initiatives. Many of our members are tired, worried, and unsure about their ability to begin yet again the important work of creating engaged, supportive, and inclusive spaces for our students. In many ways, it feels like August, a time that requires us to remember our why, begin anew, and redefine our intentions, our purpose, and our progress. It is a time to rely on one another when we need rest and look squarely at what inspires us to keep going. ACPA, as we look at what lies ahead in the next 100 years, remember your beginnings. Remember your why. Remember your Augusts. And know that no matter what comes, ACPA will be here to walk alongside you. Our leaders have worked hard over the past 100 years to lay a solid foundation for our future, and our association is well positioned to tackle what lies ahead. And in many ways, we are already on our way to new beginnings. Our new governance structure has already opened doors for more voices, more sustainable involvement opportunities, and more strategic partnerships within our association. Our new Strategic Initiatives Working Council has already started the work of imagining our association's next strategic plan. And our Public Policy and Governmental Affairs Task Force and Ethics Task Force has already started to review their purpose and think about how ACPA can increase our advocacy in the coming years. Key ACPA leaders have already started the work of reviewing and revising our professional competencies. And our association leaders have already started to form new partnerships with associations such as the Society for College and University Planning and the National Association of College Auxiliary Services as we think about systemic change in higher education. Our Leadership Council has already started to think about how we can strategically build upon ACPA's strong financial position through investments, improved accessibility to membership, and a continued focus on meaningful professional development opportunities. And our international office staff has already started to increase support to our entity groups through increased staffing and presence. We are already on our way. We are already beginning again, and I invite you to join us. As we embark on our next 100 years, I invite you to think again about your own beginnings and what's next for you, both professionally and within ACPA. What do you want to begin? How can you help ACPA imagine what's next? What is your August moment? And what have you already started to imagine? As we begin our next century of work, I hope you know ACPA will continue to be a staple of our profession. We are not going anywhere. In fact, we've only just begun. So join us. Join us by getting involved. Join us by thinking creatively about what lies ahead for student affairs and higher education. Join us by writing, leading, thinking, doing, attending, challenging, and celebrating. Join us next year and in the years to come. Join us in Long Beach. Join us as we begin year 101. Thank you for the privilege and honor of serving as your ACPA president, and congratulations to ACPA on 100 years of boldly transforming higher education. Today, we start our progress toward 101. Thank you in advance for being on this journey as we begin again. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for attending the presidential transition and address. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn the annual business meeting and presidential transition. So moved. Jasmine Lee. Is there a second? Rochelle Brown? Any discussion? All in favor, come with an aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. With the bang of the gavel, I am honored to bring the annual business meeting and presidential transition and address to a close. Congratulations once again to ACPA on our 100th anniversary this year. Please continue to enjoy the ACPA 24 convention, and I'm excited to be together again for the ACPA 25 convention in Long Beach, California next year.